Welcome to this video essay. My name is Alexa de la Fuente, a rising sophomore at Brown University, and today we will be analyzing how films dealing with social justice issues are framed around a white narrative. I will be discussing several tropes that stem from the white narrative focus, such as the white savior complex, and how a film uses this specific lens to gain empathy and recognition. A bit of a disclaimer. Since the films are based in Latin American countries such as Peru and Mexico, there needs to be a clarification on what white means. During this essay, I will be using Andrea Mither-Smith's overall understanding of the term white, in which whiteness allows the person to be beyond their body, people that have agency to perpetuate their positioning at the top of societal, political, and economic hierarchies. She draws from Richard Dyer's book White from 1997 that states that the three key elements of whiteness are Christianity, race, and imperialism. Whiteness cannot be reduced to just a body like non-white people because of incarnation. Whiteness is rooted in the phenotypes of race and making distinction, and whiteness can enterprise themselves and non-white people to expand their notions to the environment. To begin, let's watch a clip from También la lluvia. This scene provides close-up shots of Daniel and Costa, and the camera focuses on their faces as seen by the blur of the background. The lighting is warm and there is no sound, giving an atmosphere of sincerity that lends to the dialogue, in which we learn that Costa is going to continue to help the daughter of Daniel, Belen, even after the water wars, protests in which the marginalized community in Cochabamba, Bolivia fought for the right of access to drinkable water. Just as Mither-Smith explains, Daniel is seen as the noble savage who is going to continue to survive.
¿Y tú, Daniel, qué vas a hacer?
Sobrevivir, como siempre.
But Costa is the white savior who has the autonomy to provide care to Daniel's family.
Oye, Daniel, te voy a ayudar con Belén, te lo prometo.
Mither-Smith writes, the cultural heft of the white savior trope thus lies in its portrayal of positive images of whites as liberators, rather than depictions of them as subjugators of other races. The white savior trope actually justifies the intrusion of the white character into the story because they are able to enact change through their help, and thus makes the white character seem heroic and altruistic. But the inequalities faced by the indigenous Bolivians like Daniel and his family will never truly impact Costa. Yes, he might have redeemed himself by the end of the movie for caring about one family, but he never learns the depth of the systematic structures that prompt Daniel and his community to protest for water. But most importantly, by having Costa be the savior of the story, the film becomes centered in the white narrative since the white character is given the arc, the redemption, the agency. I could have mistaken Luis Tosat for Sandra Bullock or Hilary Swank if I was watching without my glasses. While I could go on and on about También la lluvia, there is another film, The Motorcycle Diaries, that shows the use of a white savior complex, although in a more subtle way. The scene is dark, with the campfire providing the only source of lighting during this pivotal scene of Ernesto Guevara's character. The film is perpetuating the idea that marginalized people, like the travelers, are only good for serving as learning guides for the white characters. Although this scene can be interpreted as a moment when Ernesto learns to check his privilege, the voiceover of Ernesto stating that he feels closer to humanity, and the final close-up of the displaced traveling man, all serve to build up the mythology of the man who will become the revolutionary Che. There are several of these marginalized people in the film that simply pass by to build Ernesto's character into a moral and upright man who cares about the disadvantaged. Speaking within the confines of the film, a savior is born because of lessons the white character gained from the marginalized groups. But films centered around white narratives don't necessarily have to make the story about the white person saving the day, as seen in the film Y tu mamá también. The voiceover begins after light-hearted anecdotes and a few seconds of silence. The shot is outside the car, tracking its movement through the sunlit road. But once the voiceover reveals the omissions between the young men, the car drives off the screen, and suddenly, the camera is within the car watching the busy people of the pueblo in the night. The inequality that is present in our main characters is connected to a larger societal inequality caused by neoliberal policies. As explained by Maria Saldaña Portillo in her article over the film, it is an allegory over Mexican sovereignty after neoliberal policies like NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement that was supposed to make trade between Canada, the US, and Mexico easier and profitable, ended up benefiting the higher classes and driving the indigenous and poor population to leave their livelihoods and migrate. Therefore, in this scene, we can see the parallels between the unequal structure of Julio and Tenac's friendship to the inequality amongst the rural people they pass by.
Entre lo mucho que olvidaron mencionar, fue como Julio prendía cerillos para esconder el olor cuando iba al baño en casa de Tenoch. O como Tenoch levantaba con el pie el asiento del excusado en casa de Julio.
While the change of lighting, camera position, and voiceover elevates the scene to be more than just a raunchy road comedy, it brings into question why the film has to be centered around these white people. If the purpose of the film is to illuminate these social justice issues within Mexico, then why make a film using a white story as a metaphor? To tie back with our first two films, why is there a need to make the white character the hero? Perhaps because whiteness will bring people to the seats. Maybe because people will see a film they see themselves in, or the people they have been conditioned to always see in films. Or possibly because films that are about social justice issues are made, recognized, and viewed by those of a higher class that do not want the status quo to be completely altered. This logic can also be seen in La Teta Asustada.
Esto que le voy a decir no tiene nada que ver con el sangrado, ni mucho menos con el desmayo. El caso es bastante raro, poco común. He visto casos similares en otros centros, pero de señoras mayores, mucho mayores que Fausta, que presentaban generalmente placenta previa, que no es el caso de Fausta de ningún modo. Fausta tiene un tubérculo en la vagina, una papa para ser más exactos. Ella no ha dejado que la intervengamos de ningún modo. Estaba bastante alterada. Usted es su marido.
Su tío soy, doctor.
Imagino que no estaba al corriente.
Ella sangra desde chiquitita, solo cuando tiene miedo. Es que su mamá, que en paz descanse, ahorita se acaba de fallecer. Por eso se ha desmayado. Ella pues estuvo en el pueblo en la época muy dura. Con el terrorismo nació Fausta. Y su madre le transmitió el miedo por la leche. La teta asustada, así le dicen a los que nacen así como ella, sin alma, porque del susto se escondió en la tierra. Una enfermedad así como eso no hay acá, ¿no, doctor?
Yo me refería a que si usted estaba enterado de que su sobrina tiene una papa en la vagina.
This scene is meant to shock and revolt the intended audience, presumably white and higher class, by introducing Peruvian folklore that others the Andes people. In this scene, the uncle of Fausta deters from the question of the potato to talk about the milk of sorrow, a very important establishment to the film, but the doctor quickly goes back to the subject because that is the focal point for the audience. Plus, the fact that it's revealed that only older women have such cases means that Fausta's character is engulfed in a backward past. So at the end, when she chooses to remove the potato from her vagina, she is entering the modern, civilized present. Deborah Shaw reveals that the Peruvian director Claudia Loza is not knowledgeable in the lives of the Andes people she continues to portray in her films, and that her films are co-produced with Europe that has a lot of ties to prestigious award festivals. Therefore, the white narrative goes far beyond just continuing to make white stories. It is about presenting stories of marginalized and disadvantaged communities through these white stories. It is about using inequalities to build a white savior character. It is about catering a film to a white viewer while simultaneously ostracizing the community it is supposed to represent. While all the films above do not have the same plots or the same destination, they are all similar in the fact that they utilize a white voice that silences marginalized communities. Perhaps the most insidious line of thinking would be that a film would center itself in the white narrative to garner empathy from the audience and therefore make a film that receives accolades and positive reviews. Thank you for your time, and while you continue to consume media, think about what lens it was created with and ask yourself who the content was made by and for.